Welcome, everybody, to the third lecture in the 2022 Innovation in the Berkshires lecture series. My name is Carol Allman-Morton, and I am the Executive Director of the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute at Berkshire Community College. OLLI at BCC is a volunteer-driven program that is a non-credit learning community for adults 50 years old and better, including courses, special interest groups, lectures, and events in person and online. You can learn more at our website, berkshireolli.org, which I'm going to pop in the chat right now. In 2019, OLLI at BCC initiated a collaborative partnership with One Berkshire and the Berkshire Innovation Center, resulting in multiple lecture series to advance regional understanding and readiness in the field of emergent tech. We are so glad to be part of this initiative, which melds together key OLLI goals to learn and to contribute meaningfully to our community. You can learn more about our partner organizations, One Berkshire and the Berkshire Innovation Center, on their websites, which I will also put in the chat. Oops. Well, you're going to forgive that there's some extra characters in there. Tonight's session will be recorded and posted on the OLLI YouTube page in case you missed anything, or you might want to share the link with a friend, or if you've missed the first two lectures in the series, they are also posted there, and you can follow that link to catch up. This series will continue Wednesdays through November 16th, and you're welcome to attend any and all of the lectures. And now I'm going to turn it over to Tim Butterworth, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Carol. Good evening, everyone. I'm Tim Butterworth. I'm the operations manager here at the Berkshire Innovation Center. I want to thank all our guests for joining us on this panel this evening on aerospace and defense and manufacturing within that industry. And thank you as well for everyone joining us from home. We've got a great group here. So I'd like to first introduce Christine Nolan, who's the director of the Center for Advanced Manufacturing, which is based at the Massachusetts Technology Collaborative, the agency focused on growing the tech and innovation sectors across Massachusetts. The center's mission is to foster a competitive manufacturing ecosystem from innovation through production. She works in collaboration with the Advanced Manufacturing Collaborative, a group of industry, academia, and state government chaired by Secretary Mike Keneally, to set a strategy for growth statewide. To this role, Nolan brings a wealth of senior level experience from manufacturing and technology organizations in Massachusetts. She began her career as a manufacturing engineer, where she saw progressive roles on the manufacturing floor and into the world of strategic account management. She transitioned into economic and community development and spent 10 years at the Mass Tech Leadership Council, a nonprofit helping to build the tech economy here in the state. The center's focus on driving innovation in the advanced manufacturing sector is helped by Nolan's background in mechanical engineering and her educational background, which includes a BS in mechanical engineering from Worcester Polytech Institute. Christine?
Thanks so much, Tim. I'm always hesitant on those long bios. So thanks everybody so much for having me today. As Tim said, I work for the Mass Tech Collaborative, a statewide agency really focused on scaling tech and innovation across the state. We have 5 different divisions. One of them, innovation. Second, broadband, which is really looking to bring broadband to all corners of the state. E-health, cybersecurity, and my division, advanced manufacturing. And I'm out and about constantly talking with our manufacturers, from our smallest manufacturers up to our large manufacturers, on what their challenges are and what do they need from the state to help them scale. So today we're going to talk about our defense and aerospace industry. And, I'm fortunate to have on this call 3 experts from specifically this industry. So, I'm sure they're going to be jumping in, wanting to also add, but just to kind of set the stage on what's happening in defense and aerospace from the national level on down to the state. So let me share my screen. Wait a minute. Are you seeing my correct screen there? My full screen?
Looks great.
Thank you. So the DoD released a report recently that shows state by state what defense spending looks like. And so here we are, it's the FY21 report that talks about Massachusetts. So we do really well. We get in a lot of dollars from the state from the DoD. We're number 7 in defense spend, and it's driven primarily by our large primes. And you can see that with Raytheon, General Electric, and General Dynamics at the top here. Pretty interesting to see who was our top line money came in, and that was into Moderna. So that was all through DoD Army money coming in for vaccine development and delivery. So that definitely gave the state a boost. We are up from number 8 this year, but you can see it was primarily due to Moderna, although they took in dollars in FY20 as well. But some good news, we're up 3.1% from 3.1% to 3.8% of total US defense spending. And then critical, of course, to the Berkshires, General Dynamics Mission Systems, you can see here, they have about $1 billion contract, and it was up from FY20. So good news, what we're seeing here. And then this breaks it down a little bit for defense contract spending. And you can see the majority, big portion of the dollars are going in Middlesex County. And that's because of companies such as Raytheon and Analog Devices. I think we also saw that there were, significant dollars going to MIT. So that's going to like MIT Lincoln Labs, massive R&D federal lab in Middlesex County. But the good news is that Berkshires is still, 4th in spend and receiving it and really driving a lot of the economy in the Berkshire County. And then, of course, I just want to point out down, also Hampshire and Hampden taking in some significant dollars. So this could be from our primes, but it does go down also to, your mid-tier supply chain, as well as some of your small manufacturers that are focused heavily in defense and aerospace. And that could be supporting companies in Massachusetts, but also some of the primes across New England and the nation. But, a lot going down into Connecticut, obviously, with Electric Boat and General Dynamics. So where is it that we primarily see our spend? So the majority of it is in search, detection, navigation, and aircraft engine manufacturing. So we look at these areas as our right to win, right? If Massachusetts as a state is going to go out and compete for more dollars to come into the state, we look at where our strengths are. And this is our areas of strength: search, detection, navigation, aircraft engine. And we're looking at this from, there's a lot of new dollars coming out right now. Not just from on the DoD, but I'm sure many of you had heard around the whole CHIPS plus Science Act. So CHIPS is all around the reshoring of semiconductor manufacturing. And it's $54 billion that's been authorized by the federal government to reshore semiconductor manufacturing. Parts of those dollars are going to be very specific to DoD and their needs for secure microelectronics. I think the first RFP that's coming out there is about $2 billion. So Massachusetts is very much focused on that because we have strong presence on that next generation of microelectronics and secure microelectronics to meet the needs of DoD. So we focus where we really think we have a right to win. Again, you can see the majority of this revenue is heavily concentrated with a few major players. But we don't want to lose sight that we have 7,000 or some number close to that of small to medium manufacturers across the state, and a large percentage of them are helping to meet the needs of our large primes. So we have to take a look at them and make sure that we're supporting them as well as supporting our larger companies. Again, I'm going back to that R&D side of things. We know we have a lot going on in innovation, whether it be through our academic institutions, but also at our federal labs, MIT Lincoln, MITRE, Draper. These are heavily relied on, and they receive a lot of dollars to help take the R&D that's happening in our universities and commercialize that technology for the defense industry. So a lot's happening there. And then we're going to have a lot of discussion around our workforce, right? We have a workforce, where we're, from our PhD level, at our universities. But what are we doing to really build up and showcase the career opportunities that are needed to not just meet the demands of the DoD, but manufacturing as a whole? And we're going to talk about that. So I pulled this quote out from when this report was released. And really, people can read through that, but what it's really saying is that they released this report because they know they need our states to come in to strengthen our supply chains and further the workforce needed to meet their needs. And so because they've got they know they're challenged. There's a lot of challenges out there to innovate and to truthfully beat China. And they need to rebuild the local supply chain that's here on the ground in the US. And they need to develop the workforce to support it. But the good news is in Massachusetts, we're really good at innovating. And we're good at solving these challenges and looking at trends that exist and these opportunities in spurring growth. And we've set a strategy through the state to address these challenges and help our manufacturers compete. And when we talk about this, it's for the defense and aerospace industry, but beyond too. We have a large med device industry here. We have a life sciences industry that takes in manufacturing of these components, right? So we're fostering this manufacturing ecosystem from innovation through production. And we focus on 3 pillars to do that. The first is innovation. And I'm going to talk about one of our programs. It's what really the Center for Advanced Manufacturing has been known for quite some time. And it's our M2I2 program. And it's stimulating innovation across the state. It's about a 5-year-old program now. And it was $100 million state commitment to fund projects that aligned with DoD priorities. So the DoD we go back to 2016, set up these manufacturing USA institutes that focused on emerging technologies. These are technologies such as robotics, additive manufacturing, functional fabrics, flexible hybrid electronics, photonics. So we look for projects across the state that they're maturing, but they need help to commercialize. And we help in funding some of these projects. We have 70 of these projects out there with more than 150 companies that have been impacted. To give you an example, here is a project that we funded that's very specific to the DoD. This company, Specialty Materials, is a sole source provider for boron fiber products that are used in the F-15 satellites and hypersonics. And when you visit first this facility in Lowell, it's hard to believe that they really are a sole source provider, considering their importance. So they came to us with a project to upgrade their facility and also train a workforce by working closely with UMass Lowell and some of the local, I think a local community college and high school. So they had a really nice project. They're adding a lot of employees, and they received a grant from us with a match of their own to scale, to upgrade their facilities. What's next? So that's just a simple overview of what we're doing around innovation. But, where we were running this program for quite some time, and we noticed that, we were really, what were we doing to help our small to medium manufacturers? And we know that our small to medium manufacturers they were starting to fall behind our large manufacturers in being able to meet the needs of our OEMs and also our large manufacturers and our primes. So we put in place a program called MMAP to help modernize our supply chain. And this MMAP program, we've given out 2 rounds of funding. It's for capital expenditures up to $250,000. And it's for some really good small to medium manufacturers out there that are really trying to move the needle. They're trying, they're working to bring on new technologies, a new 5-axis CNC machine, which you're looking at here at a company called Boulevard Machine in Westfield, Mass. They're adding jobs, but not only are they adding jobs, but they're adding good jobs, which is really what the state wants to see. We want to invest in companies that invest in their employees. So if you're a company that might be bringing on robotics and automation, that's good, because what we're doing is we're replacing some of those mundane tasks that a manufacturer may have to do with a robot, upskilling their current workforce, paying them more money, really giving their employees more financially stable, secure jobs. So this has been a terrific program. I'm sure for any manufacturers on the call right now, you're going to want to learn more about this. It's a competitive program, but odds they're pretty good on this one. We've given out quite a few dollars at this point, and people are really pleased with the program. Here's another example of an MMAP company that just received dollars. They partnered. You need to have a nonprofit partner. So they partnered with the Western Mass Economic Development Council, and they basically purchased a company down in Connecticut where they were able to expand their to a fusion welding source, and they were able to bring quite a bit of additional business in because their improved capabilities. They've added jobs. I learned about another manufacturer in Massachusetts that moved their business from out of state over to advanced welding because of this new capabilities. So really pleased with these dollars that have gone out and seeing the return from that. Next, I'm going to talk about our workforce system. We know that the biggest challenge that our manufacturers are facing right now is finding talent. And this is from the entry level on up. So we're really looking at this coordinated education system that spans the pipeline. And so I'm going to start talking about, K through 12. What do we need to do here? Well, certainly we need to just improve awareness of the manufacturing opportunities that exist. That old thing that it's not the old manufacturing, but new, exciting, emerging technologies to get engaged with and offer really great career growth. We're working here. We have an awareness curriculum that showcases these new emerging jobs and technologies to our high school level students. We're working closely with our new innovation pathway schools and their advanced manufacturing programming to make sure that they're aligned with industry and really helping to build that workforce. Through our Mass Hire Workforce Boards, we're working with our adult education, right? So these are our evening adult education programs that are being set up to meet the needs of manufacturers. So if you're looking for talent, you want to find where these are running through your mass hires and go to them. There's programs for CNC, welding, robotics technician, ESOL training. So take a look at who's running these programs through the mass hires and connect into them. We need industry engagement if this is going to be successful. Our community colleges are a new pipeline for us where we're really focused. We've been running under a federal grant program, upskilling or improving our advanced manufacturing training program to meet the needs of industry. We've looked at what the gaps are, and we brought new skills and training into the community college programs. So the students coming out of these colleges, including Berkshire Community College, are really aligned in their skills to meet the needs of manufacturers. And of course, our universities, pumping out a lot of great students, pumping out a lot of R&D to meet the needs of DoD. And then down below, I talked about, industry engagement. We're working, because we have the connections to industry, we're really working hard to create that partnership between industry and our pipeline of education, because one, it helps our manufacturers find talent, but it also really showcases to students what exists out there. And so, I just hosted a really great, I can call it a field trip with one of our innovation pathway schools in Haverhill, Mass. They visited the New Balance facility during STEM week and just got a really great, participated in design challenge, and were exposed to what manufacturing looks like. It's amazing to me how many sneakers are actually being made here in Massachusetts. Shout out to New Balance. Really good partnership between the high schools and an industry partner. I will say they all walked out with a new pair of New Balance too. So it's cool. It was a great field trip. But no matter how many training programs and how much education we have out there, what we know we need is we need more butts and seats, to put it bluntly. And so we've launched a new marketing campaign called Mass Makes that is being seen throughout the states, whether it's through billboards or community centers or Google ads or radio ads on Spotify, that talks about how to engage in manufacturing and to make a difference and create a future. So all of this being done in support of the needs of our defense industry, critical needs for our nation, and also for our state. So with that, I'm going to stop, because I know it was quite a bit of talking, and see if anybody has any questions, or obviously we're going to go to our panel, but does anybody have any questions? I'm also happy to take some of this now. James looks like he had a question about creating a reliable source of chips in or near Massachusetts in the relatively near future. So what I can tell you is that, and I'm happy to share this in further detail if anybody wants to reach out to me, but for the DoD, with the new there's an RFP coming out as soon, like November 9th, it's expected to hit the streets. And the DoD is really focused on getting the money into the hands to bring this would be for secure microelectronics. And, so we're very hopeful, but there's a lot of work to be done for sure. The rest of the dollars, $54 billion sounds like an awful lot of money. And I'm not saying that it isn't, but to set up one fab can cost $20 billion. So, or somewhere in that near there, So that some of that money is going to go fast to build new fabs. And we don't expect those dollars to come to Massachusetts. Those dollars are going to go to places like Arizona, Texas, Ohio, New York, those big fabs that are producing like standard semiconductors that we're seeing like in your phones, in your cars, right? But what Massachusetts is focused on is the next generation of semiconductors. So it's really the microelectronics that we know we need to power things like autonomous vehicles, 5G, IoT. And that's where we're focused. It's called, for those, depending where you are here, what's happening at the secure edge. So bringing microelectronics right down to, say, your Apple Watch, and having the computing happening there instead of accessing the cloud, which can help with speed as well as security of the device. So we're hopeful that this $54 billion, first of all, we're hopeful that we're going to get some to the state, and we're really working hard around that. There's, like I said, a big coalition of companies that are focused on that, but also how critical it is to bring this back to the United States for our country and the security and competitiveness of the country.
Hey, Christine, this is David Allen, right? At this end of Massachusetts, 20 minutes away is Global Foundries over in the Albany area, which is one of the premier research and development places for chips. So while it's not in Massachusetts, certainly people that live in Massachusetts, if you're out here in the Berkshires, you could be accessing that whole world.
Right. And what I would say is, there's certainly, there's that corridor from your MITs in Cambridge and Raytheons out to MIT Lincoln across the state to Global Foundries. And, we need them, right? We need them for the big fab. And what we're hoping is we can leverage, right, our R&D and innovation over to the big fab in New York. And I also say from a supply chain perspective, how, when these RFPs come out, can I help to get money into the hands of our small manufacturers that are going to be feeding, you know, feeding these fabs to be built? Take it MKS, who's a big equipment supplier in Massachusetts into the semiconductor industry, but they rely pretty heavily on our small manufacturers, right, for components. Well, we need to help them as they gear up to meet the needs of an MKS too. So happy to take questions. I mean, we're going to spend some time with the panel, of course, but turning back to Tim right now, and I can stop sharing.
Thank you so much, Christine. That's a fantastic overview of how technology investment has really improved the economics here in the Commonwealth. Up next, I'd like to introduce Brenda Burdick, who oversees the marketing and strategic communications for the Maritime and Strategic Systems line of business of General Dynamics Mission Systems. She is responsible for the business's marketing, communications, community relations, and public relations, and supports corporate and government relations for Massachusetts-based initiatives. Brenda has more than 30 years of experience as a marketing professional, with more than 25 years in the defense industry. Before entering the defense market in 1996, she was the director of marketing and a member of the operations leadership team at the Swift River Inn and Resort in Cummington, Massachusetts, where she managed all aspects of marketing and managed the inn's multi-million-dollar operations. Prior to that, she was the public relations assistant and sales and marketing manager at Canyon Ranch in the Berkshires. Burdick graduated in 1989 from Bryant University with a bachelor's degree and a double major in marketing and business communications. A lifelong resident and strong advocate of Berkshire County, Brenda is passionate about Berkshire County and devotes time to help improve the business economy of the Berkshires, as well as the social opportunities for current and future residents. Civic appointments include the Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts Board of Trustees, currently the chair, One Berkshire Board of Directors from 2009 to present, the Berkshire United Way, the board member from 2008 to 2017, and a board chair from 2013 to 2015, and a vice chair from 2011 to 2013, and 2015 to 2017. And she's also a Berkshire Innovation Center advisory board member. Thank you especially for that. So Brenda, please take over.
Thank you very much, Tim. So I am going to present some slides here. So I want to start off by giving you an overview of General Dynamics. So General Dynamics is a large corporation. You'll see on this chart that there are actually 10 companies that make up General Dynamics. And Mission Systems, which is in Pittsfield, is under the technologies area. You can see that in the black print. So I'm going to go into General Dynamics Mission Systems. We are a global company. We have about just over 12,000 employees. We have 75 locations in 8 different countries. Our headquarters is in Fairfax, Virginia. We have 1.95 million square feet of manufacturing across the globe. And we work with 7,300 suppliers in 44 countries. So a fairly large organization. Laura Hooks is the Vice President and General Manager of the Maritime and Strategic Systems line of business, of which our Pittsfield facility is part of that.
Brenda, I'm so sorry to interrupt. You'll want to go into the full slideshow mode because we can see your slides, but it's still like in the within the app.
Better?
Perfect. Oh wait, that's still that's the presenter mode. Maybe.
I think if you go into, try going to display settings at the top and swap presenter view and slideshow.
Beautiful. Thank you. Go team.
Thank you, Christine.
No problem.
And from a Massachusetts perspective, we have 4 facilities in Massachusetts. Obviously, Pittsfield's here in Western Mass, and then we have 3 others in the Boston area. We have Dedham, Quincy, and Taunton. And in Massachusetts, we have about 2,600 employees. Annually, we spend over $11 million in supply chain to small businesses and medium-sized businesses throughout the Commonwealth. And in the past 8 years, we've spent $1.5 billion with about 3,000 Massachusetts suppliers. In Pittsfield, we have 1,600 employees. 900 of them are engineers, 215 are in manufacturing, and the rest are in the support services like finance, marketing, things like that. We have 4 buildings on 3 different campuses. The main 2 buildings are OP1 and OP2, and those are on Plastics Ave. We have OP3, which is on Merrill Road, kind of across from the shopping center where Dick's Sporting Goods and things like that are. And then our 3rd facility is on 1 Plastics Ave, and that used to be the old GE Plastics and Sabic. So when Sabic moved out of the region, we were able to move about 400 employees into that facility. Some of the work we perform in our Pittsfield location, for over 60 years, we've worked on Navy submarines. Like I said, we've done that for over 60 years. We took that expertise and leveraged it to the surface ships. So here you'll see the Littoral Combat Ship and the Expeditionary Fast Transport. Those are 2 US Navy ships that we work on. We do a lot of systems integration and manufacturing for both of those ships. And then we also do the strategic weapons system, and that is tied to our submarine work. And finally, we invest in our community. We support Soldier On, which basically takes formerly homeless veterans and makes them homeowners. We do a golf tournament. We've raised almost $500,000 and provided that to Soldier On over the years. We participate in Third Thursdays, and we do a lot of hands-on activities to promote STEM and manufacturing to children and families. We're always in the 4th of July parade. We've actually had all of our manufacturers and engineers create a littoral combat ship that is to scale, that is involved in the parade. We've done that for several years. And then we're also a very proud supporter of the Berkshire Innovation Center. And we've partnered with them on a number of initiatives. And we're really thankful that they are here in Berkshire County. So that concludes my presentation. And I stopped sharing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Brenda. We here at the BIC really always do appreciate General Dynamics support. And personally, I'll say it was really fun adding to the parade float this year with some fun laser cut gears. And actually, they put me in the command seat, so I got to man the water cannon as we went down the route, which really I recommend if you get the chance.
Always fun.
Yep. Next up, I'd like to introduce Justin McKennon, who's the principal scientist at Electromagnetic Applications, or EMA. He's an industry recognized leader in understanding and simulating the effects of lightning and other electromagnetic effects, having published dozens of papers, and he's been invited to be a speaker at numerous conferences and events. Justin obtained his bachelor's and master's degrees in electrical engineering from the University of Massachusetts. He holds an FAA designated engineering representative license in all lightning disciplines and has played critical roles in certification efforts on many aircraft programs in EMI, EMC, lightning, HIRF, and design areas. So Justin, welcome to the panel.
All right, let me toss a couple of slides up here and tell you a little bit about what we do. It's quite zoomed in. Can you guys see this on the correct view?
Looks great.
So I'll tell you a little bit about EMA. We're a small business, but we're not as small as we used to be. We were very recently awarded an M2I2 grant through Christine's group, which was awesome. We also work, we've had a handful of projects now with a lot of the Massachusetts state companies, including a couple with GDMS on here. But we're kind of a different flavor. We do some strategic manufacturing. We build solutions, but we are not a massive scale manufacturer a la Global Foundries. But most of what we do is in the enablement area. So you cannot manufacture things the way you'd like without what we do. And that's because when you build things and when you do stuff, our experience and mine in particular in this area is that it's often difficult to see the end use cases when you're only working on a single platform or a single project there. And so what EMA has is a 45-year history of working on everything. We touch airplanes that get struck by lightning, what happens when objects fly in front of big, powerful radars, what happens if a nuclear warhead goes off, how's everything going to work, to what happens to satellites in different parts of outer space. And we do so with kind of a staff that comprises really all of the experts in the world. We are notorious for taking people that are really good at their jobs and bringing them on board at EMA. And our office here, just to go back to the previous slide, currently is in the Berkshire Innovation Center, which is where our lab is. But we're actually moving to another office in downtown Pittsfield, I think actually next week, which will be very exciting for us. One of the main ways that we serve our customer base, I'd say probably half our business is in the simulation domain. So we are developers of two commercial software products, EMA 3D Charge and EMA 3D Cable. EMA 3D Charge in particular is being developed to do some plasma etching simulation capabilities at the request of a lot of the major chip manufacturers. Right now, you want to try something weird, you kind of have to build it. And that's a major risk for a lot of these manufacturers. And so we've been approached by a lot of them to develop that. And so that's a lot of the work that we like doing on that. These software tools have been published in just hundreds of papers, certifying of airplanes and things like that along with it. But the other half of our business, I think, is mostly what I get into is on the consulting side. And if you think about a big company, I use General Dynamics as an example, the breadth of stuff that GD covers is staggering, like the number of disciplines and things that a program has. And it's not fair for a company like that to have the greatest expert in every single domain on them. It doesn't make sense because those problems don't happen on a day-to-day basis. And so we serve as a big supporter of major DoD contractors like GD. We work a lot with Raytheon and Lockheed and many of those companies like that. And surge assistance. So you have a specific ask of a significantly larger program. We're able to step in and do that sort of stuff. We've worked with Sierra Nevada Corporation for probably 12 years now, where we have badged on-site staff. So we kind of act like we work there, even though we don't. And really, we're kind of relied upon to answer questions and prove things are good. And that's really fun because we're doing it in areas that make people's heads and eyes roll for it there. So I live in an area, of my expertise where, I can talk really technical and put everybody to sleep, or I can talk really high level and get everybody very excited. And it lets me make really cool pictures like this, where you generate, how antennas are going to work on airplanes. What happens when there's too many antennas talking and operating in the same areas there? How are automotive radars going to work in busy intersections there? What happens when an airplane is struck by lightning? And all of those are really fun, but they're also really safety critical. And the kind of the crutch of our company is safety and operational reliability. Our baby, though, here in Pittsfield is our Space Radiation Effects Lab. We are the only commercial radiation effects test facility in the world. The only other ones there's a few academic ones, there's a couple government ones, some private DoD ones there. But you can see on here that there's just a lot of cost that goes into making mistakes in space. It's probably not cool if you have a problem on an airplane, but at least most of the time you can land it and fix it. A submarine or a boat, you probably don't want to see it, but at least you can dock it and fix it. If it's in outer space, it's gone. There's nowhere to go get it. You can't go up there and accurately retrieve it. And so that required us to get into the strategic manufacturing space that we kind of live in. So a lot of our manufacturing is, for one, making stuff for us. We have to be able to build things that don't exist in the world, including our radiation effects chamber. And we're able to build really custom mounts and fixtures and things that our customers then use to do other testing on their parts. So we can take solar cells and satellite arrays. We're working with some major DoD contractors on evaluating how their power sources are going to grow up and degrade as a function of time. They're going to be in space for 20 years. You probably would want to know how your satellite's going to behave over that time domain. And to do that, it's not the same type of testing where you go put it in an oven and you shake it around there. It requires a lot of very unique and fine-tune manufacturing that we then share with our customers, and then they're able to go do other things that they also wouldn't be able to do without that. Inside our chamber is all custom stuff. These are always really cool pictures to show because it makes people's heads spin. So we shoot electrons, so different types of radiation at materials and see how they get bigger and smaller and age and warp and darken. And we're able to measure arcs in ESD, and we do so in environments that are identical energetically to what you would see in different parts of space. So if you have something going to the moon, you can bring it to Pittsfield and we can tell you what it'll feel when it's on the moon. And we can spend a lot of time, going into the minutia of the capabilities in here, but it's important to be able to see it, feel it, hear it, and pull more than data off it there. And so that's a lot of what we focus on here in Pittsfield. We are also we have one of two test facilities in the entire world that's able to measure different properties of electron yield. It's very important for how things charge up in space. And so this is a recently manufactured deployment that we built in-house here at EMA over the last year. So just to kind of wrap up here without getting too long into it there, we have a really cool business. I think our line of work is very unique. Being here in the Commonwealth, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of support mechanisms and systems here. We've been super fortunate over our time here in Massachusetts with just tremendous state support through programs and groups like Christine's and other ones at the state level in the city of Pittsfield too. And so in all cases there, it's kind of the combination of what we do that enables us to do that. So we have to touch, how to measure things, how to build them, how to share what we know with other people, and then how to simulate them. And that's the condensed version for me.
Thank you so much, Justin. Really appreciate that. Next, I'd like to introduce David Allen. He's the owner and president of Cinecon Plastics, which is based here in Pittsfield. After buying Cinecon in 1989, David's grown the business from 7 employees to 45, from being in a 5,000 square foot former textile mill to a 35,000 square foot facility with more than 20 machines. Cinecon prides themselves on high quality and consistent injection molded parts while retaining the original family-owned mission, and David has been essential in upholding this. And as an owner of an SME, a small to medium enterprise in manufacturing, and as mentioned, one that has been a supplier for large companies like General Dynamics, we'd really like to hear a bit about that perspective in growing into the overall industry. So David. David, you're muted.
So thank you. We've actually grown now. We have 85 employees. And as we said, we're a real true manufacturer. We take raw material, be it steel or plastic pellets, and turn them into things. What we make, I call goes into. Everything we make goes into something. It doesn't function by itself, but it's a component part to some other higher assembly. Half of it's medical, but a large portion of what we do is aerospace and military. It's something that we've grown quite a bit in the last 10 years, both for molding parts, for night vision systems and scopes and things like that. And in the last year and a half, we've become a supplier to General Dynamics here in Pittsfield and other facilities around the country for them. But as I say, it's true manufacturing. We have 24 molding machines, and in the last 2 years, to expand our capabilities, we've purchased 2 machining companies here in town. And there's 20 plus people at these machining companies. And so we're taking raw steel and cutting it and drilling it and tapping it and making parts for the military, aerospace, and medical facilities. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of activity. We're just going through now purchasing $400,000 worth of new equipment. So it's a very capital intensive environment where we have to go out and buy machines that are anywhere from $100,000 to $250,000 a piece. I would say that in terms of the types of things, we also do a lot of work for RBC Bearing, which is in Connecticut. Christine noted that the aerospace and military industry in New England is not just Massachusetts, but goes down into Connecticut and those areas. And we participate in that. We make bearing seals that go into airplanes for that company there. So a large variety of stuff. We've been around since 1968, so it's a long-term company. We've been working on getting younger employees involved. I think one of the nice things about Cinecon is you can come out of high school and either Taconic or McKennon Tech and have had some training. And then we put you on a machine and you start learning how to design stuff with 3D models. And then you're out on the floor and you're running machines and you're designing stuff and then making it. So you see how that all works. So we've got several people now in their early 20s. So we're starting to develop the next generation of workers. And I think that's an important message to get out to people, is that there's plenty of jobs and good jobs that you don't necessarily need, a 4-year college degree. And historically in Pittsfield, that was true, but when GE transformers left, that kind of opportunity went away, but it's now coming back and building back up. We're seeing work come back into this country that was overseas because of all the last 2 or 3 years worth of interruptions. And places like GD locally, they have a kind of a corporate mission to work locally and build up local suppliers. And so they've been great to work with, and we're really pursuing that strongly with them. That's kind of about it. That was a quick substitute for this panel. So,
Well done.
But it's a lot of activity, a lot of things going on, and it's fun to. The environment there is you create stuff, which is kind of nice. You start with raw stuff, raw hunk of steel, or just a box of pellets, and all of a sudden parts are going out the door. And that's, to me, there's a lot of satisfaction in that. It's really manufacturing stuff.
Great. Thank you so much, David. So we're now going to shift to our panel Q&A. To all of our attendees out there, if you'd like to ask a question, feel free to leave it in the chat, and please direct it to a specific panelist that you'd like to answer it. Christine, I believe you have a few questions queued up to get us started. Would you like to do those?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, certainly lots of questions for all of you. For Justin, who he mentioned that we had given an M2I2 grant. There's 2 reasons why you get the grant, because every time he talks, I say, wow, he's really smart. And 2, I'm thinking that he's going to be able to help me if my plane gets hit by lightning. So, but, can you talk a little bit about what it takes, scaling a business in the Berkshires versus, the tech entrepreneurs that think they need to be in Boston or San Francisco or Austin. Talk about it being in the Berkshires and Pittsfield.
Yeah. So I get to see both sides of the coin there. I think it's a very interesting topic because our headquarters is in basically Denver, Colorado, right? We can put a flyer on a telephone pole and get 50 applicants for every position we open up here. And in the Berkshires, it's a little bit different, right? We are not a major urban hub with 300,000 people sitting in downtown there. But that being said, we started here in 2019. We opened up our offices, and now we have 8 advanced degree holding employees here in Pittsfield. We are growing very rapidly right now. We are learning the pain of infrastructure when you start to get over 50 employees and all the fun that goes with that. The thing that I enjoy most, though, and I think that this is probably one of the best kept secrets that shouldn't be a secret at all, is that the support that's available at the state level here is really unique, and it's not something that you really can get elsewhere. EMA is a rapidly growing company. I think what we do is really important, but we don't matter at the city and state level in Colorado. We don't. There's just too much other stuff going on. And, and even not being the largest company in Pittsfield, we've had the privilege of direct visibility all the way to the governor's office. We've obviously through the M2I2 program, the city of Pittsfield's been a phenomenal supporter of us, and they're not doing it by cheering. They're doing it with money, and they're doing it with resources here. And so for us, we've had a really probably an easier time than even I would have expected when we established our company out here, just due to kind of all the peripheral support, the background support, and frankly, the finance of it. And when you take all of that and you pair it with kind of the environment that the Innovation Center offers there, it's really hard not to succeed, to be honest.
Mhm. Your advanced degree folks that you have, you mentioned 8 of them, I think. Are you finding them? Are they local? Are they coming out of UMass Amherst? Or are they coming from all over?
We're probably, or so we don't have the largest sample size ever. There's only 8 of us here, but I'd say about half of us are local and the other half have been relocated from other parts of the country. We are working on a big project with UMass Amherst right now. It's too early to share all the details with it there, but we're very well tied in with a lot of the local universities and stuff. And so I'm hoping we'll have more good stuff to share on that coming soon.
Right. And Justin and David, shifting gears a little bit, I think you're both suppliers to General Dynamics. And I know that General Dynamics has big initiatives to work with a local supply chain. And so Brenda, like, can you talk a little bit about that process? Like, what does it take? How do people get engaged and find themselves profitable doing so?
Happy to do that. So we do it a number of ways. The most recent thing that we did was in June, we had an Innovating for the Future event right there at the Berkshire Innovation Center. And we brought in a number of companies from General Dynamics. So more than General Dynamics Mission Systems. We had Electric Boat there. We had Ordnance and Tactical Systems. We had a number of companies there. And we brought in a number of experts to talk to them about, how to work in a defense environment, talked about cybersecurity. Christine, you were one of our guest speakers. We really appreciated that. So we're always trying to reach out to local businesses to get them to understand that they can work with General Dynamics very easily. When there aren't events like what we just had, you can go on to any General Dynamics website and click on the supply chain link, and you can, complete a form and someone will contact you and start the process of how to work with General Dynamics.
And David, can you talk a little bit about you? I think you're new, a year or so that you've been supplying to General Dynamics. So how's it going? What's going on with cybersecurity for you? Because I know it's a real challenge for small businesses to meet some of the cybersecurity requirements for, working with our OEMs and primes.
Yes, that's true. And we actually, through the BIC, have a grant that we're just getting started on to do a survey of our systems, and you come up with a grade, and then through that grant, you establish what the process is that you're going to go through to get it up to the level that it needs to be. And it's an ongoing issue within the defense industry as as cybersecurity issues become more important and controlling all that, it becomes important. And so the level of expertise you have to have inside your company keeps growing exponentially. And it's not easy for a small company to have all the resources to do that. So the grant that we got through the BIC and one of the state agency, again, I think you're sponsoring it actually, is going to be a big help with that. Then I see one of the questions that talks about on here, how about what leveraging your tech is that you're using. And the companies that I purchased in the last couple of years, the machine shops, they had not upgraded their equipment in a while. It's hard to do when you're a small machine shop. So that's one of the things that we're coming in and doing, and we're keeping all the employees, and actually the owners are still work with us. But we're now going in and upgrading equipment, bringing in the new, like you said, 5-axis CNC machines or new inspection equipment or software. And so that's how we're bringing those companies kind of up to where they need to be to continue to expand our work. And we've talked to General Dynamics about that, and we're working with them on a kind of a different inspection protocol that they might be able to use. So that will be more cost effective for them and easier for us to do.
Just jumping over to the questions in the chat a little bit and talking about leveraging tech, and certainly we're seeing this with a lot of our manufacturers with their need, as we call it, the industry 4.0, but with new ERP systems and robotics and automation. But one of the things that everybody's kind of talking about, and this is maybe Tim, something you can jump on as well too, is, the whole use of additive manufacturing and what's coming down the pike around that.
Sure, thanks, Christine. For those that don't know, additive manufacturing is synonymous with 3D printing. And this is a way of manufacturing objects where you start with an empty build plate, and then you slowly add bits of plastic or other materials to produce a part. And what's really novel about this is that you're not only defining the outer geometry of a part, but you're defining the inner geometry as well. So it lets you make much more complicated parts, and it lets you do some cool things like take an assembly that's made up of 100 individual parts and condense that down to 5 parts, because each individual part can be more and more complex. And this ties into advances in CAD software, so that you're designing parts that are able to take advantage of this new manufacturing technology. So here at the BIC, we have a large investment in additive manufacturing technology. And as we see this industry advance, especially for aerospace and other industries where weight savings are at a premium, we'll see more and more applications for these parts. They're more difficult to produce. David Allen can produce, hundreds of thousands of parts a day easily. Our printers here, can make a few dozen. So the scaling, the volume of production is certainly not there yet with additive manufacturing, but in a lot of fields, you don't need to make hundreds of thousands of parts. You might only need to make a few dozen. So we're seeing that improve really quite rapidly. And the firms that are interested in it at an early stage, who want to take an investment, who want to educate their staff on how to operate these machines, educate their engineers on how to design with this tech in mind, are the ones who are going to be best poised to reap the benefits as the market trends in that direction.
Great. And, I think it's Massachusetts, another place where really we have some really world-class talent and tech in additive manufacturing. A lot of the bigger companies, from the equipment manufacturers and the materials, they can be MIT spinouts, like your Desktop Metal, not Sero, but I think Mark Forge, Formlabs, just some big companies that are really driving the industry. And what we're looking towards, and we're convening groups around this, there's a lot of standards that are going to be needed to get these parts accepted by somebody like a General Dynamics. There's a lot of certifications that are going to be required. And so it's definitely an emerging field that we're watching closely. And but it's certainly made, and Tim, you can respond, some big steps over the past year or two.
Yeah, absolutely. Each of those companies that you mentioned there, we have Mark Forged, Formlabs, printers here at the BIC, as well as Desktop Metal. These are companies that are really responsive to the needs of their customers. They've each come out with a first version or a beta product in the 3D printing market, and then find from their clients that they need it to do X and it can only do Y. And having a commonwealth that has organizations in place that foster this type of communication is just, immeasurably valuable. If you have, the left hand has to see what the right hand is doing. And if we have companies that are designing the next generation of manufacturing and fabrication tools, and we have other companies that are designing the next generation of parts and warships and planes, and they're not in close communication, it's an enormous missed opportunity. But thankfully here in the Commonwealth, that's really not the case. We see these two industries evolve and grow up together.
I think I can add another point on top of that, Tim. A lot of the work that we end up involving in is, we're very much at the forefront, I guess, of companies when they're trying new things or getting into weird areas there. And oftentimes it's significantly more expensive to jump right into David's style of manufacturing, right? You don't want to put a process together before you have a product for it. And what we've found, and this is actually going on in our lab at this exact moment there, is that it's a lot faster and a lot more inexpensive to try it in 3D printing. And a lot of different aspects of it in that way are just so much more cost effective and so much faster. And, a lot of the work that we end up doing is understanding, what did you actually make when you've done 3D printing or a new process or a new material forming or, whatever that is.
Mhm.
Yeah, Justin's absolutely correct there. The tooling cost to get into injection molding is going to be, several thousand, more likely tens of thousands of dollars to make your first part. So that first part is really expensive. Rapid design iteration is something that comes along with 3D printing because there's no longer this extremely high cost to producing your first article. So with that cost decreased, you can produce a single part for the cost of the plastic that goes into the printer. It might only be a few dollars for the first prototype. You no longer have the same need to sink tens and hundreds of hours of engineering time into the first prototype. So it really speeds up rapid development because it's less costly to fail in the development process.
Shifting gears a little bit and just responding to the chat, I can take this a little bit, but anybody in the last 10 years, how have the support systems in the Berkshires changed for the better for advanced manufacturing? Anybody?
I can weigh in. I mean, so this is probably the time so I grew up in Springfield. I'm not a local Berkshire native, but I've been out here since about 2012. And even in my time out here, I've seen basically a 90-degree change from just not only just the manufacturing culture out here, but just the general, innovation and economic culture out here. And what the difference to me has been is the willingness to invest in ideas that are not fully fleshed out, but have a really good story behind them. And that's important because it's very easy to take the tried and true methods and keep getting what you're getting, keep doing what you're doing, keep getting what you're getting is kind of a very true statement I subscribe to. And it takes a little bit of risk, but it takes risk with some foresight there to really make change in the economy. And the Berkshires in particular have time and time again shown that they're willing to invest in the small businesses. Most of the major breakthroughs and difference makers out here are going to happen at our small businesses, and particularly places where you're making parts that now have utility far outside of what their current scope is. You're adding a new capability that opens you and your company up to an entire new market and those sorts of things.
Right. From the federal level, there is, and this is not, not 10 years, but much more recent. So much of it, of course, tied to the shifting supply chain with COVID too. But the federal level is really pumping out a lot of dollars to establish new innovation engines in different areas of the country. So Massachusetts is at a bit of a disservice because they'll give webinars around this and talk about Massachusetts as an example on what was built around life sciences. But what we know is that there's other parts of the state besides Cambridge, and looking at Western Mass as an innovation engine it could be, to build a supply chain in the defense industry. It could be for new battery technologies. It could be in additive, right? But as we look at federal dollars coming in, it's often that we're looking at really the Berkshire Innovation Center and what they're doing and leveraging their partnership to help scale new opportunities for Western Mass and the Berkshires.
Just as a kind of an aside to that, it surprises me when I found out, but not just with aerospace and the military, but 50% of what Cinecon makes gets exported out of the country, which is kind of an amazing statistic. So not only is it growing the Berkshire County economy, but it's growing the Massachusetts economy because outside dollars are coming in. And a lot of that, it goes to manufacturing sites of our customers and then gets shipped back as a finished product back into the country. So it is part of that whole global supply chain. But just to understand that even in Western Massachusetts, manufacturing can have a large impact all over the place. Just like Brenda was saying, how they were dispersed all over the world. Cinecon isn't, but our customers are, and that's kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. Brenda, would you know? I can think of some companies, but talking about spinning off like consumer or domestic products from defense spending. Like, does General Dynamics have an arm that's focused on outside of defense that may take like older technology or technologies that are not protected to other industries? Do you know?
There's none that I can specifically recall. It's almost the reverse right now. So 40 years ago, the government was leading in, supercomputers and doing all that stuff, and we were leading the way, and then commercial was picking up. And now with the technology in the commercial sector, we are using a lot of commercial technology, computers, different things like that, ruggedizing them and, modifying them for defense applications. But one of the General Dynamics companies, Gulfstream, is a commercial company, and they make commercial jets. So we've got some commercial and defense related businesses, but from a technology perspective, I almost think it's flipped.
Yeah. There's certainly a lot of defense dollars that go into small business, our SBIR program, right? Small Business Innovation Research. Number one, Massachusetts is the #1 state for SBI dollars coming in per capita. So these are all small, early stage innovation projects that they're building up and moving towards a lot of times defense applications, but they can be commercialized. There's also like commercialization arms of something like an MIT Lincoln to take some of their technologies and get them out into the commercial space. I don't know if there's anything anybody else can really add on that.
Well, we're major users of the SBIR system there. I think right now we probably have 3 SBIR phase 2s and 2 different SBIR phase 1s, and then an STTR in there as well. And that's solely driven by the defense spending, right? So the government, the various branches of the military, in our case, will put out solicitations that says, hey, we have a need. We need something that does this, or we need a system that does that. And as I mentioned, we're not the type of manufacturer that would typically get billed as one, but in our current STTR, we're going to have to build a system that can measure the degradation of insulators and gaps as a function of the crap that's in the environment, what gets on them while they're in there. And to do that, that's driven totally by a need to extend the times that you're out for maintenance, at ports and how ships are going out there. And so dollar for dollar, all of those investments in defense that go into these, military ships and different programs there, they end up flowing down to the small businesses through stuff like the SBIRs.
And I'll just add to that, in aerospace in particular, with additive manufacturing, there's a need for qualification of parts, as Christine mentioned earlier. And with FAA regulations, it's very difficult to produce a part. You need a long chain of documents that shows where the steel was originally produced and everyone who processed it along the way, so that if a plane ever crashes due to a failed component, the FAA knows to ground all the other planes that may use something from the same batch. When you 3D print objects, they come out one at a time, and it's hard to identify flaws in the same way. But because the US government operates the largest fleet of aircraft in the world, they're able to approach the replacement parts that they purchase differently without the same regulations that a commercial aviation enterprise would have to. So there are also opportunities for defense spending, as Justin was saying, to help development of technology, but also to loosen regulation in some way, which can speed up the development process.
So let's see. With the new focus on education, is the pipeline, here's a good one for everybody, is the pipeline for workers beginning to change, or are there still gaps for employee skills? David, you're growing pretty quickly. You said you're up to 85 employees now. Where are you finding talent? Is the talent there? Do they have the skills they need?
Well, like I said before, the main method I've been doing to get talent is to buy a company and then absorb those employees. So that's worked pretty well for me. But we are seeing an evolution of attitude, say, in the high schools, whereas, say, the last 20 years, the focus has really been on everybody needs to go to college. And I think that whole mindset is changing somewhat significantly based on, one, the cost of colleges now, and the fact that because that was the mindset for so long, there's a big gap now in terms of talent. And I mean, even things like electricians and plumbers and the rest of it, you can't find any of those people. And that's now becoming more apparent. And I think people are getting, parents and kids are becoming more comfortable that those are good pathways. You know, the latest thing is they want to turn Taconic into a complete vocational school. And when they first went to build Taconic, the state said that they didn't want that, and now the state's behind that. So that shows the shift in the thinking of going on. So I think that the pool of talent is going to start to grow again, and as people find that these jobs are you know, good paying jobs, and there's a lot of longevity to them.
That's right. Brenda, anything you want to add there?
So we do a lot of STEM outreach through schools and colleges. We've also been, we recruit locally. We found that we look usually within a 100-mile radius of Pittsfield because of people wanting to be in a similar environment, be able to get back home to visit, you know, their family. Those types of things have worked for us. And we have, you know, for our engineering, we've had a very good return on getting students and people in their mid-career to move here. And from manufacturing perspective, we've also had some very good turnout getting people from the area to come and work for us.
Great. Yeah. I would say, you know, we're also seeing that a lot of manufacturers just taking it upon to do a lot of their training internally to grow their employees. And shout out for anybody that's not aware of it, but the Workforce Training Fund through the state is a fantastic program. Every company pays into it, so any company out there should be taking advantage of it if they're not aware of it. For companies under 50 employees, I think under 100 employees, excuse me, there's an express grant. You apply, it's a pretty simple application. You get notified within a few weeks. It's up to $30,000 a year to do any training for your employee. And then filling out a larger project, more extensive, and for larger companies, up to $250,000 a year. So any company should be accessing these dollars. So, and it's through ComCore is the group, and I can even pop it into the chat for those interested.
We're actually starting on one of those grants in the next week or two, because to train on some high-level inspection equipment.
Right.
I think to just kind of feed in with what Christine was bringing up there, it's always interesting when you see, I hate to use the term legacy. So, you know, it's if when GE goes to build the next generation submarine there, it's an extension of stuff we already know how to do. You push the boundaries with newer tech, but it's not like you're building a rocket ship. It's still at the base, it's a submarine, right? You can take stuff that you've learned and applied it. And, you know, what I find to be just really, frankly, one of the things that we struggle with, to be honest, is when we add a new capability into our facility or our service offerings there, it's because nobody else can do it. And when we do that, that means nobody else is good at it. And it kind of gives us this chicken or egg thing there, where, you know, when we started our space line of business, you know, there's one university in Utah State University, excuse me, that studies like material physics, and they had some, you know, experience in radiation effects, for lack of a better term there. And so I had to go hire 2 people out of that program. I took, you know, like a quarter of their lab, Greg and Brian, who are just, you know, indispensable parts of our company now. And when we look at, you know, we're working really big into the extension into the optics sector right now. And we're looking at, well, I want to make measurements and do all this stuff. And, you know, I've got other stuff I do during the day. I can't, you know, spend my entire day learning an entire new field. So where do I get the people that do these new things? And, you know, for us, it's been, you know, readily clear that you have to partner with academia if you're going to get into that. You can't go out into the deep end on your own anymore. You know, where if I'm going to take general engineering, sure, I can go find engineers. You know, there's 100 great universities across, you know, within, you know, 200 miles from here, whatever. But if I need someone with an expertise in RF and photonics, that list gets a lot smaller. And if I want them to have measurement expertise, it's even smaller. If they, want to do anything to do with, I mean, space radiation is a poor example because there's nobody that does that. But, even in our traditional lines of business, lighting, they don't teach you that in college there. So it's up to us to kind of either really extend with training, and be very, have to be a lot of effort on mentoring and training that way. But if you partner with academia, it does really give you a leg up in it there. And that's what we're learning right now.
Thank you, Justin. As we wrap up here, I'd just like to give each panelist an opportunity to leave us with some closing thoughts. So we'll just go in the same order we introduced. Christine, if you'd like to start.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for having me on this webinar and for the ability to kind of share out, how the state's looking at things to build ecosystems and different industries across the state. I think, talent is a major focus, workforce development. And I think it's something for as much as we need to turn it now, and everybody is looking for new talent, it's going to take a village to make it happen. And from our educational systems to our guidance counselors, parents, students, and industry. And if we can all come together, I think that's really how we're going to change the narrative and bring back manufacturing because, like I like to say, mass makes. So let's do it.
That's great, Christine. Thank you. Brenda?
Yes, so thank you, Tim and Christine and everyone for pulling this all together. It was great to be a part of this. I think my parting words would be that General Dynamics in Pittsfield is a prime contractor at times. Sometimes we're a subcontractor. We do work locally and globally with small companies across the Commonwealth and the country. And one of the programs that we're working on is the new Columbia class submarine. And that class of submarine is going to go until 2084. So my parting words are that, you can have a lifelong career at General Dynamics and your grandchildren can have a career at General Dynamics. So we're here for the long term and it's really a great place to work.
Thank you so much, Brenda. That's quite the contract. That's wild to imagine. Justin.
I think I can just as to echo Brenda's statements. I worked at GD about 10 or 12 years ago. Now I don't even remember, and I worked on a specific program. And my wife recently joined General Dynamics, and she took over for my boss on the program I used to work on. So the programs are definitely going around for a long time. I think I'd say that as a smaller company, that's we're significantly growing our footprint, at least in terms of what we like to do out here. We love the Berkshires. We're always, if you're in a tech field and everything from software development to, any branch of engineering, science, physics, we're an open access employer in those areas there. And so, we've had a lot of, we've the Colorado School of Mines, their physics department. I think we probably have half of the people from that unit working at our company in Colorado out there. So, anybody that's interested in STEM, we're always open to sharing our lab. You're welcome to come by the Innovation Center and we'll give you a tour. You can, I wouldn't say touch it, but you can look inside it and stuff like that if at any time you want.
Thanks, Justin. David? David, you're muted.
Yeah, no, yeah. So I would just want to say that manufacturing is alive and well in the Berkshires. Brenda kind of took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say, we're working with General Dynamics and they have contracts out to 2084. So there's going to be long-term availability of work, and it's going to be fun and exciting, and it's growing with the help from the state, Christine, and everything. It's going to be an exciting time in the next 10-20 years, I think.
Couldn't
So David,
agree
you're
more,
going to
David.
reach out to me on the MMAP?
What was that?
You're going to reach out to me on the MMAP program?
Maybe tomorrow.
I'll let you go have dinner.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I'd like
everybody.
take the opportunity to thank all of our panelists. It's clear we have just an incredible amount of domain knowledge and expertise here on our panel tonight. And it's great to hear your individual perspectives on the aerospace and defense manufacturing industry here in Massachusetts. So from the Berkshire Innovation Center, thank you guys so much. And Carol, would you like to share a bit about the upcoming lectures for everyone else who's in attendance?
Sure would, except that I don't have it queued up on my screen. Hang on one second. I can, as I'm vamping as we go along, I can tell you that they're Wednesdays through November 16th. And I'm so sorry, it's going really slow. Here we go. What was that about broadband out in the hill towns? Awesome. Okay, so next week we have life sciences, which will include Jean Leclerc, Senior Director of Business Development and Workforce Partnerships, Linnea Kuhns, Director of Marketing at Boyd Biomedical, and Thorsten Scott, General Manager of Spectrum Plastics in Pittsfield. November 9th is on the creative economy. There's a long list of folks from Mass MoCA, Berkshire Film and Media Art Collaborative, Jacobs Pillow, and Berkshire Innovation Center. And then we're having a wrap up on November 16th at 5 p.m. Our panelists will be Ben Lamb from One Berkshire, Ben Sosney from Berkshire Innovation Center, and Bob Braddock, who is a member of OLLI and part of the planning team for this group. And that's going to be both in person at the BIC and on Zoom, so you can come either way. And I think that's about it. There's always programs happening free and open to the public through OLLI and through the BIC and through One Berkshire. You should come to them. It's great. Tell your friends. And I'm so grateful to all of our panelists. Thank you for being here tonight. And let's go have dinner.
All right. Thank you very much, Carol.
All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.